Welcome to my review of the best LEGO Star Wars Clone Turbo Tank to date. It's set number 8098 with 1,141 pieces and originally sold for $120. In today's market, it's about $600 sealed in box, a price that's gotten so high in my opinion because LEGO has released two inferior turbo tanks since this one. We really peaked in 2010, it's crazy. The box is simply beautiful as the summer of 2010 ushered in the blue clouds with Captain Rex vibe, and it is a vibe here, potentially the best LEGO Star Wars box art style of all time. Now we've got the turbo tank rolling through Felucia, and on the bottom right it shows you've got 6 included minifigs, and interestingly at Toy Fair in 2010 there is actually going to be a 7th minifig in this set. As you can see, a picture of a battle droid on the box, but the name beneath is tactical droid, so it seems originally it would have been planned for a tactical droid to be included in this set, which clearly would have even further elevated how legendary this 2010 turbo tank has become. It's a real shame that didn't come to fruition, but still a really good figure selection that we'll discuss more in a moment. The back box art has a more bland Geonosis vibe, like compared to the front they really didn't put a lot of work into that. It also shows all the features and functions that we're going to find in the turbo tank, which there are a lot because this is quite a large set, as well as some other summer 2010 sets. So what a banger. Let's go ahead and unbox this one. Inside you are going to find numbered bags 1 to 4, but there's multiple bags for each number, so there's a lot of bags in this set. You've also got 2 instruction manuals with nothing too crazy going on in them, but at the end there are some very cool kind of poster art designs of some of the sets from the era. We've got 6 total minifigs here, and we'll start on the name characters with Anakin Skywalker. Of course, he's got a great Clone Wars style face print with the scar, got the big blue eyes. Some people aren't a fan of the bigger Clone Wars eyes. I think these really fit exactly the art style that is in the Clone Wars. So I always loved and appreciated that it really mimicked that, and Anakin here certainly does. Torso print is nice, and of course you'll kind of find this all throughout the figures in the set. No leg printing, no arm printing. It's just a little bit bland feeling for modern day, but it does of course give me a nice throwback 2008 vibe, and at the time these figures were considered very good, kind of top of the line. Same can be said for Ahsoka here. Just nice Padawan Ahsoka. Her Leku is fantastic with some amazing detail. She's got an amazing face print with, again, big blue eyes, got nice torso detail, and then just kind of plain Jane gray legs. Now Ayla here was brand new at the time. Face and torso print both very accurate in this particular case. You've got the off-colored arms, which looks really nice. No leg printing, but it's really her head tail piece that makes this figure great. It's a piece that has aged phenomenally well, going on 15 years old at this point, and it's actually surprisingly not dual molded. It is a single mold for her head tail piece. It's just got the brown printed on there, which is really cool because it's a super intricate print to get it to wrap all the way around the tails and everything. So really fantastic. It's got no real give to it. It's not a rubbery piece. It's a hard plastic piece. To this point in that era of LEGO Star Wars, they were using rubber a lot for something like this, I feel like. So I guess them snapping off must not have been a problem because I've never really seen anyone snap off, but just so you know, it's not rubbery. It has no give to it. The back print is also very well detailed, and I think this lighter shade of blue for the animated Clone Wars version of Ayla Secura here is perfect. It really does very nicely match what we see. So very nice Ayla figure that I think has aged better than the other 2 Jedi in this set. And finally, we've got the bad guy here, Cad Bane, and he's also pretty great for 2010. He's another great looking figure, dual wielding some pistols, got an awesome hat, and the nice breathing tube piece underneath his head. The face print is perfect for a Clone Wars Cad Bane. Also a great torso print, and again, just leaves a little bit to be desired with a lack of leg printing. Those are your 4 name characters. I think the Ayla and Cad Bane that were new for this set in 2010 are clearly much better than the Anakin and Ahsoka that were reuses from 2008 at this point, but still, great figure lineup on the name character side of things. Now, when it comes to the Clone Troopers and a Clone Turbo Tank, I feel like 2 is not going to be enough for me. I feel like you're releasing a Clone Turbo Tank. You can't have more other characters that aren't Clone Troopers than Clone Troopers, even with as great as the other minifigs are. Now, as the instructions has you build these regular Phase 1 clones, it does have you give them some attachments. So one of them gets a rangefinder, and the other one gets the visor and a pauldron, but he does not receive a cama. That is so that he can sit down. However, the cama is still included. They actually, interestingly, in the instructions, have you place it in storage in the turbo tank so that you can get it later, add it onto your clone trooper, and make him a full commander if you so wish. It's really awesome that they would go to that length back in 2010. That is something they will not do in modern day LEGO Star Wars. They just flat out don't include the cama. They are too cheap and lazy to do that, but back in the day, you can see the effort was there. They cared, and it was included, and that's awesome. And again, they went as far as to give you a spot inside of the turbo tank for that extra piece. There's also those other attachments that they have you place in the turbo tank if you want to swap out some of the headgear on these guys, but yeah, these are otherwise classic 2008 clones with a few accessories popped in, and man, they just still look so great to this day. This turbo tank is massive. So massive, in fact, that it includes an entire battle pack's worth of side builds that are going to fit inside of the turbo tank. That's just insane to me. But we've got a clone command post, we've got an ATRT, we've got a weapons rack. Of the three, the weapons rack is definitely the most boring, but it gets the job done, and as we found out in 2025, it's a lot better than nothing, so we'll take it. It does include more weapons than you need too, which is nice. Like, just the extra stuff they would include back in the day with LEGO Star Wars versus now, where they would penny pinch and make sure they only included the correct number of blasters, right? They give you extra. You only need blasters for 2 clones. Technically, they could, I guess, hold, one in each hand and hold them all, but really, are most people going to do that? No. All the other characters have their weapons, so they don't need to use anything from the weapons rack here. But it's a very simple process. You take the weapon off, and you put it back onto the clip when you don't want to use it. And you'll notice all the green rails. That, of course, is going to allow it to slide into the turbo tank, which we'll check out when we get to that. This command station feels really underrated to me. There's some really nice part usage here, and for something that's like 15 pieces, it looks really nice. I'm not sure if the clip is intended to clip onto something somewhere. Like, I couldn't find anywhere on the turbo tank where it made sense. It doesn't show anything on the box. It might just be part of the design that they came up with back in the day, but there is a clip there. I mean, maybe you can clip on a weapon? No. You can't really clip on a weapon. I guess if you did it that way, you could clip on a weapon, so maybe that's why that's there. I don't know. Maybe not, because it's not going to come off easily. Either way, you've got a couple of nicely printed control panels. You've got some antennas that you can move up and down. Just very nice playability there. And then you can take a clone trooper and stick him onto that command post. I think it looks great with the figure in there, and it's something that adds a lot of extra playability for kids into a build like this. Plus, it's just cool as a collector to have like another kind of odd command post. Now, you can also fold this down, and that's how you're going to need to fold it down when it's going to go inside of the turbo tank. So we'll leave it like that, and when we get there, those green rails will become useful. You kind of notice that theme with the green rails, right? The ATRT build feels really in line with what I feel like I see a lot of LEGO Star Wars fans saying they want, in that it's very close to minifig scale. It's not a massively oversized ATRT, and you can see it next to a minifig here. There it is, about twice the height of a figure. But yeah, I like the scale of it. It's nice and small, but still, like, it's got enough detail. I really like the main blaster on it. It uses a flick fire missile, just turns it around, and it looks really nice. By comparison, in a more modern set, they would throw a stud shooter there and completely destroy the look of it. I mean, I don't know how the kids survived in 2010 without a play feature on their minifig-ish scale ATRT. I don't know how I did it. Shoot. Anyway, we'll take a clone trooper, pop him on top, and he can actually hold on to the handlebars. It's always such a great thing about the LEGO handlebars, that the figures can actually hold them. Love that. Gotta say, I also love the shaping on the front of the ATRT. I think it looks fantastic for its size, scale, and I guess the year that it came out back in 2010. Pretty decent look for the joints as well. Everything looks really nice all around. I mean, it's not as detailed, obviously, as the bigger ATRTs, but for a ATRT of its size, it looks great. You're also going to get some nice posability out of the legs. You can move them down a notch here, and you can make the build feel a little bit taller. You can even make it just kind of stand up straight. So it does have some different kind of modes you can move it into just because of its size. It doesn't flip over as easily. So yeah, you can get a lot out of this one, I feel like. And I kind of skipped over it, but the main cannon can swivel back and forth and can also move up and down. Like, that's crazy to me. It just looks so good, and it's functional. It's amazing. Hopefully by now you're also wise to the pattern. We've got that same green design with the rail, and that is going to allow this ATRT to attach inside of the turbo tank, which it's, yeah, time to figure out how that works. I want to talk about how beautiful the exterior is so bad, but it flows better if I show you how these attach first. So starting with the ATRT, you just pull the panel on the turbo tank down. You're going to find these yellow rails inside. Those are, of course, going to match up to the green rails that I've shown off to you as we've gone through each of the little side builds. And so with the ATRT, slides right in like that, and it's going to fold right into the turbo tank. There is low clearance, but there's just barely enough, and you can get it in there, close that up. And then if we flip it around on the other side here, pull this little latch up as well, drop this down, you're going to have the same exact design. So you can kind of flip-flop it however you'd like. You can put the ATRT on this side if you want, and the command station on the other side, but we've got the command station here. Again, similar kind of rail design. We will slide this in like so. Just like that, you are good to go, and we will close that latch just like that. Yeah, with those alternate builds secured inside, they really have never fallen out on me. I've owned this set for 15 years and I've never seen that as an issue. So even if you, let's give it a good shake. Let's flip it upside down, something I would never do, but let's see what happens if I do that. Bam, still in there. ATRT, looks like it's still in there as well, and it definitely is. So even if you flip the turbo tank upside down, they're not going anywhere. Now, I did not forget the weapons rack. That is going to go in this hatch here. If we flip that down, slide the weapons rack right in, nice and easy, and then close it up. You're done. Just like that. That one as well is super well secured. It's not going anywhere, even if you flip it over, same deal. For the rest of the features on this turbo tank, I want to work front to back, and we got to start with these huge blasters on the very front of it. They look amazing, and they can all move individually if you'd like. I prefer to keep them right next to each other. I think it just looks the best on the turbo tank, but you have the ability to kind of shoot at multiple targets at once, however you'd like, and I think is something that functions well both for display and play. This is absolutely killer because I think it looks great and it functions very well. But again, yeah, I just always like to keep them exactly like that. So I wish I glued them in. What a great little feature on the very front though. And then just behind there, you've got some lights built in with that yellow. God, I love that yellow color as kind of a slight accent to this gray turbo tank. There's another pair of lights on top of the turbo tank. Those look great as well in yellow. So again, that front and then on top as well, just a great combo. You've also got this dish weapon here. Looks nice, small. It can swivel though, doesn't do too much, but it's again something that doesn't look horrible for display. Like it doesn't take away from the look, but still has a little bit of playability built in there. The cockpit for the turbo tank can also easily be opened. Just pull this top hatch up, flip these out, and then pull the front one down. You'll notice the windows are transparent, but you can't actually see through into the turbo tank, by the way, but I do like this darker gray transparent color. I think it accents the rest of the color of the tank very nicely. But inside, you've got a very modest cockpit. For the amount of space they had, they didn't add a lot of detail. There's a printed control panel on the front. It's a nice design, although certainly dated at this point. And really, they didn't add a lot more where it feels like they've got room to add stuff like a weapons rack or a crate or something. Like they just left a lot on the table in this particular area of the turbo tank, in my opinion. I mean, maybe it's nice that they didn't over design it, but it's been a long time since I've really looked at this. And my first thought looking at this was like, wow, they really didn't optimize this space like they probably would modern day. But then again, they have to optimize space modern day because there's so little of it in their tiny tanks. This turbo tank, you know, you can just have extra space and it doesn't kill you because you really didn't need to use it to have a bunch of cool features. Like they still have like 8 other cool features and they have empty space to spare. Next, we've got the middle section that you've already seen some of, but there's still more to it. On top, we've got a very large flickfire missile. And as far as flickfire missiles go, this is probably one of the better integrated ones all time. It matches the colors of the set perfectly. It certainly feels like it belongs up here and it swivels 360 degrees. Like it's a really cool, like just pretend to shoot kind of turret. I always like push it because that's the easiest, but it's also the lamest. But we'll try to get one good flick in here. Oh, it's not like the strongest connection for the build. Let's try it again without holding it down. Okay, well, it worked well. Like it went, but again, the rest of it came with it. So I would definitely consider that to be a bit of a design flaw. You really don't want the rest of your build going with your missile when you try to shoot off your flickfire missiles. So let's try it if we hold it down. Let's see how well it can shoot. It hurt, but it does work a lot better if you hold this down and shoot it. I don't think it's often, if ever, that I look at something like a stud shooter or flickfire missile in this case and think the build would look worse without it. But really in this case, I think your build would look worse if you got rid of this play feature. I love it. I didn't explain it earlier, but the process to get in the main area of the turbo tank is super simple. You just pull up on this little piece here, drop the big hatch, and there's our ATRT again. So we're actually going to pull that out, and we're also going to pull out our command station. Drop that down, pull that out. All right. Now you can see inside there's actually a ton of space where you could theoretically place your Jedi or some clone troopers if you'd like. Like you can still close up the door, show you from the other side. Yeah, you could place minifigs there if you want to forego having the builds inside of the turbo tank. It is an option. I was always disappointed as a kid that they didn't have like a big plate for minifigs inside. That's something I loved specifically about the 2005 turbo tank. But I think this was a good compromise. You could still place figures on here. They left you plenty of space, and you could put a larger plate on there if you wanted to hold more clone troopers or whatever you want to carry. Even though the main interior felt a little lackluster to 13-year-old me, there was still something really cool here that I hardly remembered as I rebuilt this set recently. There's a couple ovens, at least that's what they certainly look like, with the control panels on top nicely printed, and you can actually just flip these down. Inside of one of them, you're going to have a Kama. That's crazy. Flip down the other one, and we've got some more helmet attachments for your clone trooper. My biggest issue here is that it can be a little bit difficult to get some of these things out. Like, there's still more in there that I really can't reach with my finger. I basically feel like you have to dump them out, but I can grab the Kama, maybe. I was able to obtain it one way or another. So there's a stored away Kama inside of the turbo tank. That's crazy, given that modern day Lego Star Wars just won't even include Kamas. They just give you an extra and have you throw it in a box. That's how much they cared about you back in the day with Lego Star Wars. I think in the other box, we've got a couple of floodlights and a rangefinder, but I'll pull them out to confirm. There's basically no way I'm getting that other one out of the back without flipping this thing over. Come on out. There it is. And onto the ground. That works. So with these extra bonus accessories included, you are going to be able to make changes to the clone troopers as you wish, which is awesome to have that option, especially for a clone trooper who would look ideal with a waist cape. So there it is. Got that nice clone commander look. That's an amazing figure now. Looks a little awkward without the waist piece. Also threw a floodlight onto the other clone trooper. Like, it's just really fun that they added the extra accessories inside of the turbo tank. Also, obviously, the clones look great because they have helmet holes that don't require double helmet warts. So yeah, obviously no problems with that all the way around. Like, it's fantastic what they were doing back in 2010. Wish they could do that today. So that's everything the middle section of the turbo tank does. And then you get to this section here, which the panels don't do anything. They are nicely, angled and everything. They look nice. But the real feature in this section is the handle. Oh yeah, this set gets a carrying handle. It uses a tan Technic piece as what you're actually going to be grabbing. So it's a nice accent color that you kind of see throughout the turbo tank. So the color makes a little bit more sense when you see there's kind of tan just in random places all throughout. So it fits, it works. But you lift this up and you get a really great grip on your turbo tank, so you don't have to grab some panels that might fall apart. It's not a poorly built set, but it's still 2010, so not everything is super strong with some of these panels. Like, they still have the potential to break. So I do think the handle was necessary here. My biggest gripe with the handle has got to be how close it is to the flickfire missile piece, because you can definitely grab it and knock it off at the same time. Like, not the greatest placement. Like, if this was able to be moved up literally a stud, I think it would make a world of difference, because even if you had smaller fingers, like, your fingers are still going to hit both at the same time. You have to have really tiny fingers, like baby fingers, to not hit both at the same time. The coolest thing about this handle, though, has to be that it matched the style of two other Lego Star Wars sets at the time. You had the 2008 ATTE and you had the 2009 ATOT. And then you had this turbo tank again in 2010. And why this was cool isn't just, oh, cool, consistency. It's simply that if you pull this off and move it down one notch, just like that, this set is now compatible with the Republic dropship. That was 3 builds, 3 years in a row, all of which were compatible with the Republic dropship. What an insane run by Lego Star Wars to have that back to back to back, the three-peat. Just insanity. So here it is attaching to the dropship. Again, very simple process as it is for the other 2 builds that were compatible here. And flying around, it flies around just fine. It's just like the others. It's not too heavy or too long in a direction that you can't make it work. So absolutely love that cross compatibility between Lego Star Wars sets. I highly doubt we will ever see anything like this again. Like, how incredible is that? As we transition on from that section, though, I do want to point out kind of my biggest issue with the design of this turbo tank, and it's probably these gaps here. I built it, and I honestly thought I built it wrong because I did not remember gaps like this existing on this turbo tank, but yeah, I do wish these were closed off a little bit better. Obviously, of all the flaws on all the sets in the history of Lego Star Wars, this one is not close to the worst, but yeah, I do wish those gaps were just a little bit more tight there. Now, we do have these hatches here that we showed earlier. Phenomenally detailed, by the way, but this is obviously just where the weapons rack is, so nothing special going on in there otherwise. Also love the railings on top of the turbo tank here. I think that's always something that I thought looked great, and it leads perfectly into the turret on top of your back section of the turbo tank. This thing spins 360 degrees, doesn't have a silly looking stud shooter on it, and it functions awesome. You can spin it, do whatever you need to do, move it in and out. spin it around however you'd like. Like, it's a really cool looking turret. And of course, you just take a clone trooper, sit him up there, and he's in the turret now. Oddly enough, I think this looks better without a figure in it sometimes, but either way, it's a really neat design, and I love the way that this piece moves and interacts. Like, just feels really cool to move around. Now we'll rip him off of there, and unfortunately, yeah, it's again not the best attachment, so it can come off at the same time. But that brings us to our final interior section. Got more of those yellow lights. Got a nice sticker too on the side here. It's a transparent sticker, so the color does match. If you look at it really closely, you can kind of see, yeah, you can see some like air bubbles or whatever, but generally in most lighting conditions, the color and everything on it is fine. But yeah, if you look at it under a microscope, it's going to look odd. More of that same translucent gray window design with a little dark red accenting it, which looks great, by the way. Love the dark red accents all throughout this set. Now to access this interior, you're just going to lift the top, pull these away, drop the front, and there you go. Look at that. It's honestly nothing that crazy. It's a couple of chairs, couple of antennas, no control panels. You got these small grill pieces on the outside, which just add a little bit more flooring space, I guess, but not really usable flooring space because it's not studded. And obviously we're pulling the same two clone troopers from the front, and it makes your clone turbo tank feel undermanned when you see like how many seats this thing has, and yet there's only 2 clone troopers included. I know you could place some of the Jedi in them, and that does work, but I just feel like it should always include more clones. That's what I'm advocating for. Anyway, yeah, they sit there just fine. Again, no control panel, nothing even on the inside flap here. Like, they could have done something, it feels like, but ultimately, that's it. It closes up just fine with them in there. There's plenty of space, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, they look nice in there. I just wish they had a little bit more to do, I suppose. It's time to talk wheels, and this turbo tank has them. They are very smooth in this particular set, very low friction, so this thing can roll for a long time if you give it a good push. It does have some great suspension because it actually uses a real spring piece integrated with the Lego piece to allow the turbo tank to kind of spring back into position. You can see it like that, kind of springs back. Really cool. That is going to be found on both sides of the turbo tank, of course. If I had one issue with the wheels, it would be that they are not evenly spaced. That is most unfortunate because I like my symmetry. And 1, 2, bigger gap, 3, 4, and 5 there. So I would say it's also unfortunate that that bigger gap doesn't line up with this here, because this definitely needs it because it hits the wheel when it comes down. That's also something that I didn't mention as I was kind of talking about the exterior, but that is an issue that you kind of run into. But yeah, the wheels work great. It rolls awesome. You can turn it as you roll it, so we can spin it all the way around here without having to pick it up. It's really cool. Love the wheel design. There's the bottom there showing everything connected. The ones in the middle have that spring, the tension, the real suspension, and then the rest are just kind of on those Technic pieces, but it works really well. This is how they did it for the first 3 turbo tanks, basically exactly like this, just different wheel designs. I will say I do think this is the best wheel design that they've ever had on a turbo tank. I really like the way the track on it or tread on it looks. I think it looks super accurate, and I love the contrast of the gray to the light gray on these. It's just a really good looking clone turbo tank wheel. So overall, they clearly work very well. You can get over some pretty rugged terrain, especially because of the size of this turbo tank, but also, of course, helped by that suspension. So nice job with the turbo tank wheels. This definitely goes down as my favorite Lego Star Wars clone turbo tank, and I just remember back to summer 2010 before this came out, chatting about it with friends on Skype. Like, the hype for this set was there. You know, there weren't as many Lego Star Wars fans back in 2010, but the ones of us that were around, we were hyped about this. So I just wish this set had more clone troopers. Only 2 in your big clone trooper set isn't acceptable to me. Obviously, the overall fig selection is still phenomenal with 4 named characters and then your 2 clones. Why not 4 named characters and 4 clones? You know, that would be awesome. So it always feels like they gotta keep a little bit off the table for you, force you to buy that battle pack, I guess, that was out at the time. Obviously, it was cheap to have more, but it would be more ideal to get everything in one box for the price you're paying. So let me know what you think about this one in the comments section below. 10 out of 10 to me. Just a beautiful set. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. You can check out more Lego Star Wars 2010 set reviews on the end screen now.